Hello, this is Antoine Rogers with another episode of Out and Up, where we encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And just like every show, we have an awesome guest. However, I'm going to switch it up this show, and I'm going to do most of the introduction. If our guest wants to add on a little bit at the end, we'll let her do so. However, I felt like I needed to do at least a portion of the introduction. We have an awesome guest today. Her name is Miss Janae Adams. And Miss Janae Adams will be talking to us and talking with us today about financial literacy and just giving our young athletes some tools to really help them in managing their finances as they grow in life. So thank you, Miss Adams, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to cover Miss Janae's background so everyone watching will know she is a credible source to the topic that we will be touching today. Miss Janae Adams is a financial advisor, a travel advisor, the CEO of EMAC Consulting, an international speaker, and she has spoken to audiences that have included high school students, students at universities, corporations, nonprofit organizations, all about financial literacy. She has also had the opportunity to speak on behalf of Barack Obama White House, as well as the Department of Education. Her advice has been featured on outlets such as CNBC, Forbes, Huffington Post, Black Enterprise, Fox Business, Jet Magazine, USA Today, and NPR Marketplace. Miss Janae has an elaborate resume. I thank her for taking the opportunity to speak and answer some questions that I feel like will be a guideline to our young people and just giving them some basic information on financial literacy. Before the show is over, Ms. Janae will have an opportunity to tell you about some of the different workshops that she has that's available where you can get much more information. So we're only going to give you just enough to let you know you need to reach out to her, as well as you thought I was finished, but Ms. Janae is also an author, and she has these two awesome books. The first book that she has is Debt Sucks University, and the most recent book that she's put out is The Money Attractor. And so, Ms. Janae, if you want to just give us a little piece about both books and what information and what are the audiences that you were targeting with those two books?
Yeah, and you definitely covered a lot of good things at the beginning. And so with the books, that's all that's left. The Debt Sucks University is for middle school, high school, and college students. And then the Money Attractor is for people, I say, with real bills. So people who are out of high school for a while, out of college for a while, that are out on their own, have some bills to pay. That's what the Money Attractor is for. So just thinking about your audience, the Debt Sucks University is for the student athletes, and the Money Attractor is for the parents and the guardians.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So many young athletes, one of the things I've heard, and I've heard it in some interviews, our young people have the mindset today, I'm not looking to work jobs for people for the rest of my life. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make money so I don't have to work for other people. What are some base things that they need to know, whether it's in middle school, high school, or even going into college, to prepare for that with that mindset?
Definitely for those who want to be an entrepreneur. And like I said, like you said to your audience, I speak to middle school, high school, and college students. And I even tell middle school students, you can, own your own business. But the first step that they have to take is understanding what is the skill or the hobby that they can monetize. Of course, being a student athlete, they can monetize that easily because they know, even as a middle school student and student athlete, they know more than a third grader. And so they can actually coach that third grader. And because every parent wants their child to be the next LeBron James, the next Serena Williams, the next Michael Phelps. And so they'll pay you $10 or $20 an hour to help their child get there because they don't know how to do it. So I would say the first step is recognizing what your skill or your hobby is and how you can make money from it.
That's good. That's good. So while making money, I think it's important. So many of our young people, and I see it even up into the pros, we have people who have never seen the levels of money that they end up seeing on the pro level. Mm-hmm. What is the base misunderstanding that many young people have, or what is it that they need to know when it comes to financial literacy about really managing their finances?
Yeah. And like you said, so the reason why so many, athletes and even actors, people who get large amounts of money and they're not used to it, the reason that they go broke so fast because they never seen it before. And the same thing for people who are getting into careers. They do the same exact thing. They never seen $50,000 a year. They never seen, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And so they end up putting their lifestyle up to that amount. And so do athletes. They do the exact same thing. So for those that are watching that are striving to get to that level, or, you're at that level and you're watching this, just understanding that you still have to live below your means. Even when you become a multimillionaire, you can't live your life to that level. And understanding the bigger you go, the higher your costs are going to be. So when people who are, working a regular career, they may have a 15 square foot house, but you have millions of dollars, so you want to have a 7,000 square foot house. But what comes with that is the light bill for that 7,000 square foot house. That comes the water bill. And all of a sudden you're spending thousands of dollars a month just for utilities. So it's always understanding, try to live below your means. I don't care how much money that you end up making.
All right. One thing, I've been in this conversation a lot recently, because I think even being older, I look at how often so many athletes, money just go away. What many young people never get taught is the tax brackets, and what I can have this $20 million contract, or, getting $5 million a year on my contract. Can you explain real quick to them how that works when it comes to what comes off the top right away, being in a tax bracket like that?
Yeah. So, and it, a lot of times it depends who is in office when it comes to politics. So I always tell my student athletes to make sure you always are following politics, because if you're getting to a certain level in the future where you're a multimillionaire, that can determine what your tax brackets are. And even the state you live in can take even more taxes off. So you have athletes that are on certain teams, they get taxed more in California than they might do in the Hornets of North Carolina. And so just understanding that maybe even half of your money goes away before you even see it. And so that's when it comes to understanding money, even at a higher level, and who you need to hire, and hiring the right people who know what they're doing. So such as an accountant or a tax planner that can make sure that everything, that you're getting the most deductions as you possibly can, so you can keep more of your money. Things like that is just something that you're going to have to, study and learn, and make sure you get the right people on your team.
Okay. Thank you. You kind of made me think of a thought and something I want to cover. But so many of our young people, as they're growing up, they have this vision of getting a lot of material things, the most expensive things, those things that's going to make them look popular, and people are going to kind of, be checking for them because of how they look and what they're wearing. And many times our young people who can't afford it get things that they shouldn't be buying, which makes it hard for maybe their parents, who are probably making those decisions, or even themselves, to ever get ahead when it comes to saving. You had a story, I saw one video, and I don't know if this touches on something else I read where you talk about spending less or buying for less, but you had a story about some boots called Manolo Blahniks. And I don't know who know about Manolo Blahniks, but explain that story to a few of our listeners, so our kids will get a view of not going after that thing that is the most expensive.
Yes, definitely. So the Manolo Blahnik Tim story is something I speak about on stage, because it's about, keeping up with the Joneses, and you fall into that trap not only in middle school and high school, but it gets really bad in college. And for me, that's where it got bad for. I was a student athlete on a full ride scholarship, and I was on an internship at the time, making $3,000 a month. Like, I was making some good money as a 20-year-old. And it was just, I got caught up into the whole Manolo Blahnik Tim phase, because Beyonce was wearing them, and Eve and J-Lo, they were sporting them. And I just thought to myself, this broke college student needs to have these boots. But I ended up not getting those boots. Why? Because it was $700. And I ended up finding them for $80, which, of course, was a lot less than I ordered them. But what I came to find out with those boots is that although when I got back to campus and I was wearing them almost every day, those people who were whispering about me and, compliment me on those boots, they didn't care about me as a person. They cared about those boots. So what I was telling to the student athletes, don't go out and get things just to impress other people, because a lot of times those people are just caring about what you have on or what you have on your feet and so forth. And they're not caring about you as a person. Let your talent speak for you, and not clothes that you are spending money on or your parents or guardians are spending money on. Let your talent speak for you. And that's going to take you further than any pair of clothing or boots like I had.
Wow, that's good. That's good. And so I'm going to connect this to another video. I watched you talking about this subject, and some people may have never heard the term, but I believe it helps when dealing with kids. So we may have adults that may be watching, some coaches, as well as some, student athletes. But speak on delayed gratification.
Yeah, so delayed gratification is probably the hardest thing that any of us can do, because it's basically telling yourself no in the present because you need to say yes in the future. And so that's one thing that I tell people. I paid off $50,000 of debt in 2 years. That's what the books are about. That's what I talk about on stages. But that took delayed gratification. I had to say no to, we didn't go out to dinner for 2 years. We didn't go on vacation for 2 years. Nobody got a gift for 2 years, not your anniversary, not Valentine's Day, not Christmas, nothing, because we had future plans of being debt free. And so delayed gratification, and I always tell people this, we said no for 2 years so we can say yes for the rest of our lives. So you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to say no to right now so you can say yes later on to the rest of your life? Like some of you as student athletes are going to have to say no to parties right now. You're going to have to say no to get together with your friends because you need to practice. But guess what? The future holds for you. It holds 4-year scholarships at schools that cost $80,000 a year. And now you're getting it for free. That's what delayed gratification is. But you also need to be able to do it with your money as well.
Thank you. What is some advice? I happen to have a teenager right now, and she just turned 19 this year, and she's been searching for a vehicle. So I know so often, whether going into college or whether it's late in high school, young people tend to have that feeling, I'm ready for a vehicle. What is some good advice to keep them from getting in debt you can give that young person that's searching for their first vehicle?
Yeah, so I always talk to students about how to get a car without a credit score, and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I tell high school students and college students that you can do it. What you think about whatever a car payment may be, tend to be $200, $300, $400. So I tell them to save up, let's say $400 a month, because you're gonna have to pay that payment anyway. So you might as well practice it first. And let's say you save it up for 10 months. That's $4,000. $4,000 will get you a really good used car, And I always tell, my student athletes that a car is a piece of scrap metal to get you from point A to point B. That's it. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're trying to get back and forth to work, back and forth to practice, back and forth to making some money. That's it. And so if you really want to be able to buy a car for cash, not go into any debt, even have the power to negotiate a car's price down, make sure you save up some money, what is, $2,500, $3,000, $4,000, and get you a used car, and you won't have any debt at all.
That's good. So I've again read and have heard in the interviews, for Miss Janae, credit cards are a no-no. Credit cards are a no-no. Speak to those people listening about staying away from credit cards and even trying to avoid loans, if possible.
Yeah, if possible. And when I say if possible with loans, it's usually student loans. A lot of times if parents or guardians have not been able to save money for college, of course, you're going to have to take on student loans in order to be able to get to the college you want to get to. But you also need to mix that with scholarships and help pay for that as well. Now, as far as credit cards are concerned, it doesn't matter what stage I'm on, especially middle school, high school, and college students. All my students hear me talk about we don't mess with credit cards, because that is debt. Okay. That is debt. And it's just dangerous for anybody, really. A lot of people say, well, as long as you pay it off every month. credit card debt. The average household has $16,000. Obviously, people don't pay it off. And I always tell people, I said, now, if you really want to understand wealth, just look at TV, listen to the commercials. On all these channels, they always have these Capital One commercials or credit card commercials saying, get a credit card, worry about your credit score. On Bloomberg, which is the business channel, you will never see a credit card commercial on there. Only thing you see is wealth advisor commercials, investing commercials, Fidelity, things that help you build wealth. But every other channel has credit cards where they take money from you. And so you can just see the difference. The channel that's about building wealth and having money in the bank never has a credit card commercial on it. Only has things about making your money multiply. But every other radio station, every other TV commercial and a TV station has those credit card commercials. I mean, you just have to think about it. Nobody is going to push wealth on you, but they will push getting money from you. And that's what that's why you see credit card commercials everywhere. And so that's why I tell students, take the time. And a lot of times in my presentation, I put up the pie chart with a credit score on there because people say, I got to have a credit score. I have the credit score. And I show them exactly what a credit score is made out of. And I show them by the percentage. It's basically a debt score. It's how long you've been in debt. Who do you owe money to in debt? What type of things are you in debt to? It's not about wealth. It's not, they never going to ever find you if you don't have debt. If you have debt, you got an 800 credit score. If you don't have debt and $10 million in the bank, you have a 0 credit score because they can't find you. It's just basic, but I only speak to that to students and young people because they can get it. I know at corporations, I don't bring that up at all because we have been way into the whole American system too long to understand that. But with middle school, high school, and college students, when I showed them that pie chart, they're like, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. Why would I do that? Who cares? I'm just going to build my own bank and build my own money.
Okay. So the student that walks up to Miss Janae, and I thank you for answering all our questions thus far, but the student that walks up to you at a workshop or something that says, Miss Janae, I'm just learning about you. I'm graduating this year and I have X amount of, school loans I have to pay back. What is the best way to start breaking those loans down and get them paid off as quick as possible?
Yeah, so it's just basically going through the process, that I talk about in my book, but I'll try to cover it right here. First and foremost, understanding to the penny how much you owe other people in those student loans. Because a lot of times they'll say they got $20,000 in student loans, and then they look at it and it's actually $28,756.21. Like, you need to know it down to the penny. You also need to know what your payment is going to be each month and who you're paying it to, because you may have signed one piece of paperwork while you started college and that loan has been sold to somebody else. So you need to know exactly who you're paying so you don't mess things up. And then start figuring out, okay, now that I'm going out this career, what am I making each month? I'm making $3,000. You need to figure out a way to have your expenses be $1,500, because guess what? Now you have $1,500 to pay towards that student loan each month. And in 10 months, you already got $15,000 going. So you got to be able to understand what the total amount is, what your payment is, and then what your amount that you're making each month, and put your expenses half of that. So you can put the other half towards the student loan if you want to get it done quickly. But either way, you need to understand that student loan is coming due in 6 months. Don't put your life up to your paycheck. It needs to be halfway there. And because that's the biggest mistake people make. They graduate and they're like, I'm making this amount of money. I need to get this apartment. I need to get this furniture. And then 6 months later, that $300 a month student loan comes and they have no more room. And now they turn to credit cards, so they have to get another job and that kind of thing. So live on half of what you make as best as you can, and then put the other half to the student loans and get them done as fast as you can. And then if you want to keep living that way, imagine $1,500 a month just for you to do anything you want. I mean, it's mind blowing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I've been able, again, to just be able to watch and just see the awesome things that you're doing and able to do. And I just encourage all those that are watching this show to just take some time to look at Miss Janae's page. Can you give us your social media outlets? I want to make sure they get it now so we don't miss it.
Yeah, so Instagram is probably the best place to find me, and it's at Janae Adams Speak. My name is spelled like Janet Jackson. So Janae Adams Speak, and that will actually take you to all other social media channels and websites.
Okay. All right. And when you watch her pages, you'll get to see, because I know the push for so many young people. And before I even go there, I want you to address, when it comes to managing finances, touch on the importance of them knowing their why.
Yeah, it's definitely important because you won't get lost, especially when you get to college. Knowing your why, like when I went to college, my whole goal was that I didn't want my mother to pay for college. Okay, she had paid for these tennis lessons for 10 years, and I didn't want her to pay for college. And then also, I wanted to get out of college, get a really good job, and be able to take care of my family. That was my why. And so, understanding that as a student athlete, what your why is, it's going to carry you through middle school, high school, and definitely college. And it's going to help you with your money, because you know that I can't mess up, this scholarship that I have, because I want to get out, get a great job, and help my mother or help my family members. When you have that in front of you, you'll think about things a little differently. You won't go some places that your friends are going. You won't do some things that other people are doing, because you want to make sure you keep that football scholarship, that basketball scholarship, that swimming scholarship, to be able to do what you need to do once you get out of college.
Okay. And while we're talking about why, I will ask this, and I guess in speaking to the groups that I've had the opportunities to speak to, I've always been concerned, and maybe you can speak on this. I believe you gave just now some solid reasons why you did or you do what you do, to provide for family, yourself, and to, but so many of our young people, their reason and their why is simply, I want money.
Yeah.
Can you talk to those who don't understand? For myself personally, my opinion is that's not a solid why.
No.
Can you explain? Give us your opinion on those that have that feeling that my why is I just want money.
Yeah, and that can't be your why, because you'll never be satisfied. And so whenever I speak in front of audiences, all my students in front of me, they fill out what you call a dream sheet. They all get a dream sheet before we get started, and then we fill it out. Now, the dream sheet is what you would do, where you would go, and who would you help if money wasn't an issue. So money's not even an issue in this. It's what you would do, where you go, and who would you help if money wasn't an issue. Because that leads you to your why. That leads you to what you're really focused on going forward. And when you put that down, then it's short-term, intermediate, and long-term dreams. So these are your dreams. So short-term is 6 to 12 months. Intermediate is 1 to 2 years, and then long-term for you all is 3 to 5 years. So what you would do, where you would go, and who would you help if money was an issue. That is going to help you get to your why. And money is never going to be on there, because guess what? Money doesn't matter in this. So you can't put it down. So it'll be whatever you want the most. So let's say in 1 to 2 years from now, let's say you're a high school junior, you want to have a full, tennis scholarship to South Carolina State University. That's where I went. Then I'm working towards that. That's my why, because it gets me to my end goal of having a great job after college and being able to, give my mother whatever she needs and whatever she wants. That's the way you think about it. But money is never a North Star, because you're never going to get there. And you end up crashing and burning by having that as a goal.
I was so excited, Ms. Janae, to jump into the conversation about finances and just how much I knew you would be able to help young people that's listening to this show, and probably even some parents who may have not had the education that pertains to managing finances. But I typically start most of the shows when we talk about people's background in sports. And it's funny, when I learned about Ms. Janae, it was really about just being able to gain some knowledge about financial literacy from her. However, in continuing to learn more, I found out what she just addressed. Ms. Janae played sports herself. And so for those that didn't catch it, you said it already, but your history in sports, how long does it date back? Like, was it middle school, elementary school? When did you start playing sports?
So I started playing tennis when I was 10 years old. And then I played D1, full scholarship athlete, #1 on the team at South Carolina State University all 4 years. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for those that are watching thinking, oh, he didn't cover anything about sports, I just gave you a little piece on sports. Even my guest today, even though it was unintentional, but she happened to be a former college athlete that had a full ride. And like she's talked about already, have had opportunities to utilize those gifts to train even once, no longer playing herself. Mm-hmm. And so I thank you, Ms. Janae, for that information. And so as we get close to ending it, I just want to ask you, like, for that young person coming out of middle school, what are some things to really focus on when you're focusing on preparing yourself for school? If you're in a case where you say, hey, I may not get that full ride, what are some things I can start doing to really prepare myself? If it's not a case, some parents have set up funds where they're preparing for their kids, but many kids don't have that luxury. Yeah. So what are some things I can start doing at a young age? If I say I want to go to college, but we don't have the finances for it.
Yeah. And so if we're talking to the student athletes, let's say that you can't get the full ride. Okay. Mm-hmm. But there's other ways to fill those holes and still go to that school that you want to go to and that you want to play for. So let's say it is a D1, D2 college that's saying, okay, we want you to come play for us, but we only have a partial scholarship. This is the time, like you're moving out of middle school, you're going into high school. This is the time to prepare for either a full scholarship or maybe a half one. Make sure you're keeping your grades up, okay? Because keeping your grades up can end up helping you get an academic scholarship. When I was playing tennis, we had someone on the tennis team that was a full ride academic. She still played on the team, but she wasn't on the sports part. She was on the full academic. Another thing that you can be doing, even if you do get a full ride or even a half a ride, a scholarship, look for other scholarships, okay? Because guess what? That's still free money, all right? It's still going to be free money in school because if you get enough money to have a full ride, any scholarships you get outside of that, as long as you're using it for school expenses, that's your money, okay? So that's even more. So if you can bring in a few $1,000s each year, that's your money, okay? And you're on scholarship, whether it's half or full. So don't just, bet on a full scholarship. Start bringing money in as soon as you get to high school. That's what my son is 8th grade. We're going to be making sure he has scholarships on top of scholarships, even if he gets a full ride or not in basketball.
That's good. That's good. Well, Ms. Janae, we thank you for answering our questions. I can sit here and ask questions for hours. I've been able to kind of just see some of the awesome information that you offer. So I challenge anyone that's watching, really digging. If you know that's an area that you're lacking in when it comes to financial literacy and really knowing how to manage your finances, I advise you to check out Miss Janae Adams. She has an awesome page. And one thing I will touch on, I think I was going to say this earlier. So many of our young people, we want to experience the nicer things or even traveling and stuff like that. If Miss Janae, if you don't mind, just give them a picture of the way you manage your finances and the different tools that you've learned to utilize, some of the beautiful places that you've been able to travel to in life and that you even get to speak at.
Yeah. And so because I'm debt free with everything other than my house, and I'm aggressively paying that off as well. I do get to have, the extra money that I have each month. I have a travel fund. And so ever since last August, I've been traveling, most of my life, but since last August, I've been really dedicated to it. And so since then, I've been to Key West and I've been to San Diego. I just got back from Dubai. I spent the week there. Before that, in September, I was in Barcelona for a week. I'm going to South Africa next March, hopefully. But I've been so many places, all these different islands. I've been to France, I've been to London. And I'm a first generation college graduate. It means nobody in my family went to college before I did. So it is possible for each one of you all that this is your first time going to college. You can get out as a student athlete, graduate and live the life of your dreams, but you have to be able to handle your money first so that you can have more of it to do more of what you want to do. But yeah, I have been in a lot of places and I live in my life to the fullest, definitely.
Wow, that's awesome. And as I end, this is just a question we have asked every guest, and I know so many other guests, we've gone on other subjects. We've talked about, being student athletes and transitioning from high school and dealing with the inner city things and things like that. However, I know you touched on finances, but I want to stamp it with our question we ask every show. Tell our young people, how important is it to have positive people in your circle?
Yes, definitely. You have to have positive people in your circle because life will get hard and you don't need supposedly friends bringing you down even more. So I always tell the students I speak in front of, if there's anybody around you that makes you feel bad about yourself or talks down to you, cut them off. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it could be a teacher, it could be, a future professor, it could be so-called friends, it could be family members. Completely cut them off. Even if that person lives in the same house, that you don't have to absorb the negativity that they give you. You can let them say what they want to say and go ahead and block it out. Go read something positive, listen to something positive, talk to a positive friend and get yourself back together because you're not going to be there forever. I promise you that. So just definitely, cut those people off who don't make you feel good about yourself and who don't have a positive outlook about life. They cannot be saying anything negative to you, but they're always talking negative. I don't know. Nobody around me speaks negative. Like I will cut you off in a minute. Like if you keep talking down about yourself or talking down about life, no, that ends up jumping on me. And no, we will not have that ever.
Wow. So thank you, Ms. Janae, for all your great advice that you've given us. With the links that you give us also be a way that they can access you if they want you to come to speak at one of their schools. Everything you gave us, we'll cover that if they go to your Instagram page.
Yes, definitely. So if you go to Janae Adams Speak, that will get you everywhere. My different websites where you can hire me to speak, as well as my other programs as far as my online courses for probably the parents and the guardians on here. And then, of course, debtsucksuniversity.com is my main website. And that also will take you to the speaking as well.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Janae, for joining us. I didn't say it earlier, but all those that have followed us this first season of Out and Up, this, of course, is the stamping last show for the season. There'll be a little bit of time. We'll start recording again in January, but we thank Ms. Janae Adams again for joining us and giving us some great information on finances. Ms. Janae has definitely given us some great tools. I've again started and jumped into the books. So again, I believe it's so important because the goal of Out and Up is to encourage our young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. We want you to have identity outside of the game, which means you have to be well-rounded when it comes to life. And so I believe finances are an important part of that. We thank Ms. Janae for joining us today. And those who are watching have joined us this season. We greatly appreciate you. Thanks again, Ms. Janae.
Thank you for having me.
You all have a good one and look forward to season 2 of Out and Up. Have a great one.